Do you want to find the number one reason why your child might have plateaued or seen little to no progress with things like PT and OT? And maybe are they even getting further behind on their motor milestones? Is your child struggling to walk, sit up, crawl, despite months of traditional therapy? Does your child seem to fatigue easily? Do they slouch constantly or even avoiding all physical activity? If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Many parents are left frustrated and confused when their child's gross motor delays are becoming a long-term challenge, even after all of the therapy sessions and home exercises. But what if we told you that the root cause of your child's challenges might be something that's overlooked by most pediatric therapies? The real root cause of gross motor delays in kids goes way beyond low tone and a weak core, so we're going to talk about exactly that in this video. This video is for parents of children with gross motor delays who have tried traditional therapies and maybe you're not seeing the results that you were promised or that you were hoping for. Maybe you started getting results, but they've kind of plateaued with therapy, and there's something that you just feel like is missing and you want to learn how to get back on track. So let's dive into the crucial role of the brainstem and the neurospinal system and how it's involved with gross motor development and something called subluxation and sympathetic dominance that can be the real root cause of gross motor challenges. Low tone, a weak core, all of that is going to be linked to this subluxation and sympathetic dominance. So I want to tell you a story about a little buddy we have that comes in here named Reese. You might have seen a post about him recently. He started coming to our office when he was about 2 years old. And at that point, he was not walking yet. He was also having speech troubles. He had been to all the therapies you can imagine, PT, OT, speech. He had great resources, but his parents just felt like there was still something missing. Even when he would sit up, he was at a slouched posture, his core was weak. When they would pull him up by his arms, he couldn't hold his head up. And he just really was, he wanted to walk so bad, but he just couldn't have the strength to walk. So he started care with us. We did nervous system scans on him, which I will show you later. And we saw that he had a lot of stress stuck in his nervous system, and that's what we call subluxation. He had been born via C-section and had a lot of tension up in the neck that resulted in a weak core later on. And so we started working on his nervous system through chiropractic adjustments, and within 1 month, not only was he walking into our office, but he was running very fast. He ended up being one of the fastest kids in our office, and now he is talking so well. He is crushing his motor milestones, and we are just really excited about his progress. His parents are excited, and his therapists are absolutely thrilled with the progress he's been making. But I want to talk to you about the science behind gross motor skills. Why are they so important? Gross motor skills are movements that involve the entire body, and they're necessary for daily activities and for overall development. They usually involve large muscle groups like the arms, the legs, the core, but often it's a foundational, crazy set of nerves and muscles that are left off the list when it comes to motor skills and development. That's the neck and the neurospinal system. That's where a lot of providers are missing that key role in motor development. So there's different stages of development when it comes to motor milestones. Most of them kind of start up at the top and they work their way down as your child grows older and continues to develop. So we start with the head and the neck with control for latching, for breastfeeding and nursing when children are young. And then we start holding the head up. So that's starting at the top. Then we go next to the trunk and the thoracic area when we start learning about tummy time and rolling over. From there, the child learns to activate their core in order to sit up on their own. And then they learn to army crawl, regular crawl, which this is one of the most important milestones in my opinion. I think this is where the brain really gets to connect, and we're going to talk more about that because it's one of the most important ones. But then after crawling, we go to cruising on furniture and full-on walking. And the rest of those can get more into the fine motor and just really stronger motor development. But those are the main stages. And you can kind of see how it starts at the top, works its way down. So let's talk about the words I used earlier, subluxation and sympathetic dominance, and how they can cause changes in tone and tension within the brainstem, the neck, and the neurospinal system. So the nervous system, specifically the neurospinal system, plays a crucial role in motor development, and it's easily the most overlooked aspect of this super important conversation. The very first thing that develops when baby is in mom's utero, the brainstem and the spinal cord, the nervous system, is the very first thing. And that's because it's so important. It controls everything from movement of muscles to the heart beating, the lungs, digestion of food, literally everything. So we're trying to get to the root cause of neuromuscular or gross motor challenges. We can't focus only on muscles. We also have to address the neuro part of the neuromuscular system. And that really should be addressed first. And that's where PT and OT, they more are focused on the muscular aspect. We focus more on the nervous system aspect with our type of chiropractic care. So once we find the root cause in the neuromuscular system, we are going to find it on our scans. It's called subluxation. We also call it sympathetic dominance, which is that fight or flight state. It's going to increase the tone or tension in the neck and the neurospinal system, especially if your child had things like breech positioning or birth interventions like a forceps delivery, vacuum extraction, inductions, and especially C-sections. That high tone or hypertonicity will stay stuck in those regions until it's properly adjusted and cleared out of the way. So this means if your child has been diagnosed with low tone or a weak core, it's actually caused by tension and subluxation in the upper part of the nervous system, the neck, where we can find on our exam and our EMG scans that we will do on your child in the office. So let me just kind of pull up one of those scans now so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is what an EMG scan looks like. So you can see on here, without getting too deep into the interpretation of these scans, red means high tension, and the other colors mean high tension, except for yellow is what we would call low tone or weakness. So when we look at this scan here, up top we have all these bright colors. That's going to be that really high tone. This is caused by things like that poor positioning in utero. It's also caused by birth intervention, birth trauma. If somebody gets pulled out by their head when they're born, that puts a lot of stress on the upper part of the nervous system. So for this kiddo here, we see very high tension here. We can also see some high tension down low. Now that didn't probably start that way. It probably started only here, but as this kiddo started to grow and develop, that high tone in this upper part here started giving confusion and really had too much energy focused up there, that then we have this yellow area in here. That is what's causing that core weakness and that low tone in the middle there. To compensate for that, the lower part of the nervous system now has tension. And so if you can think about having lots of tension on top and bottom and then a weak core in the middle, that really is going to impact coordination when it comes to motor development and motor skills. When we look at the one on the right here, this is what a perfect scan looks like. I'm not aiming for perfection all the time, but we're trying to get as close as we can. So after someone's been in care for a while, we're going to see a stronger core in here. White is that normal color on this scan. And then up top we have no tension. The tension down low is completely gone. So looking at these down here compared, this is showing me which side might be a little more tense than the other. So over here on this side and this side, we have long red spikes. That's kind of acting like a tug of war. And you can imagine that if you had a tug of war going on by your brainstem, that coordination would not be the top priority for your body. It's hard to develop new skills and have the strength in your neuromuscular system and your neurospinal system to sit up by yourself or crawl properly or even walk, just like Reese. So A lot of times when we see kiddos who are struggling with that motor development, maybe they haven't crawled at all or they have an asymmetrical crawl, this scan is one of the first ones we're going to look at to see where the imbalance is, where is the stress being stored, and most of the time it starts up top before it even works its way through the rest of the neurospinal system. Looking back, go over here. So after you've seen these scans, everybody has a little bit of difference in their scans. We can see patterns through different types of birth traumas or experiences growing up, being C-section. We always see that torque up top, that tug of war we talked about, but we get to do these scans on everybody that comes into our office so that we can be completely custom to whatever your child may need if they're struggling with motor development or those gross motor skills. So if your child has been struggling with gross motor delays and you feel like you've tried everything without results, it's time to look a little bit deeper into things like the sympathetic tone and that tension in the nervous system. And things like birth trauma can definitely have lasting effects that we can help with. So to get these scans on your child and figure out what the root cause of your child's gross motor delays are, I want you to visit the link in our bio, or you can call our office to learn more about getting those scans on your child and figuring out a plan of action to help your child have proper development and finally get past that plateau or stuck point and get them back on track with development.